My parents kicked me out to steal my renovated suite. They didn't know I packed the walls with me. I was standing on the top rung of the ladder, sweat stinging my eyes, as the final screw dropped from the heavy brass chandelier into my palm. My mother was due home in exactly 45 minutes, expecting to walk into the luxury suite she had bullied me out of. Instead, she was going to walk into a dark, hollow shell that smelled like drywall dust and petty revenge. To understand why I spent my entire Sunday dismantling a room down to the studs, you have to understand the arrangement. I'm 25. I make good money as a junior architect. But 3 years ago, when the housing market went absolutely nuclear, my parents made me an offer. They had a master suite in the basement, and I use that term loosely. It was a dungeon. Concrete floors, a flickering fluorescent tube light that buzzed like a dying fly, and a bathroom that hadn't been updated since the Carter administration. "We'll charge you $1,200 a month," my dad had said, leaning back in his recliner with a gracious smile, like he was doing me a massive favor. "Market rate is $2,000. You save money, we get help with the mortgage. Win-win." I took the deal. But I have standards. I couldn't live in a dungeon. So, I made a verbal agreement with them. I would pay the rent, but I was allowed to renovate the space at my own expense. Whatever I put in, I could enjoy. Over the last 36 months, I poured every spare dollar and every ounce of sweat equity into that basement. I didn't just paint the walls. I installed dimmable Lutron smart switches. I ripped out the carpet and laid down luxury vinyl plank flooring that looked like gray oak. I replaced the hollow core door with a solid wood slab for soundproofing. The bathroom was my masterpiece. I spent 3 weekends watching YouTube tutorials to figure out how to swap the plumbing. I installed a rainfall shower head with a detachable wand, a backlit vanity mirror, and a Toto bidet toilet seat that cost more than my first car. By last month, it wasn't a basement anymore. It was a sanctuary. It was a 5-star hotel room. My mom loved showing it off to her friends. I'd hear them downstairs, their heels clicking on my new floors. "Oh, look what she's done with the place," Mom would coo. "It really adds value to the house, doesn't it?" I should have seen the red flags then. I should have noticed the way she ran her hand over the quartz countertop I had installed over the kitchenette bar. She wasn't looking at it like a proud parent. She was looking at it like a landlord eyeing a rent hike. The ambush happened last Tuesday at 7 p.m. I had just come home from work, exhausted. I walked into the kitchen to grab a water, and they were sitting at the table. No TV. No dinner. Just the look. "Chloe, have a seat," Dad said, gesturing to the chair opposite them. My stomach dropped. "What's wrong? Is it Grandma?" "No, nothing like that," Mom said, smiling. It was a tight, plastic smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We've just been doing some thinking. You're 25 now. You've been down there for 3 years. And?" I asked, gripping my water bottle. "And we think it's time for you to spread your wings," Dad said. "We want our space back. We want to have the house to ourselves again. We're thinking of repurposing the basement." "Repurposing?" I narrowed my eyes. "Into what? Storage?" "Well," Mom giggled, a nervous, high-pitched sound. "Your Aunt Linda is coming to stay for a few months next spring. And we were thinking maybe we could list it on Airbnb on the weekends. It's such a lovely space now. It seems a shame to waste it." The heat hit me instantly. It started in my chest and radiated up to my ears. They didn't want space. They wanted the product. They wanted the rainfall shower and the smart lights and the luxury flooring. They saw the finished renovation, realized I had increased their property value by $20,000, and decided it was time to cash in. "You want me to move out so you can Airbnb my room?" I whispered. "It's our house, Chloe," Dad snapped, his tone shifting from gentle parent to landlord instantly. "And we're giving you notice. We need you out by Monday. The photographer is coming on Tuesday." "Monday?" I stood up. That's 6 days. My lease. We don't have a lease, Mom interrupted, her voice sharp. It's a month-to-month family arrangement. Monday, Chloe. We're doing this for your own good. You need to be independent. I looked at them. Really looked at them. They weren't kicking me out for my benefit. They were greedy. They saw the dollar signs. They wanted to rent out the luxury suite I had built on my dime, and they wanted me gone before I could wear it out any further. Fine, I said. My voice was eerily calm. Monday. January 12th. I'll be gone. Great. Mom beamed, clapping her hands. Leave the keys on the counter. And please, honey, hire a cleaner. We want it sparkling for the pictures. I walked downstairs. I sat on my expensive beanbag chair, staring at the 65-inch 4K OLED TV mounted flush against the wall. I looked at the Nest thermostat glowing softly in the dark. They wanted the room? They could have the room. Intermission. You might think I just packed my clothes, cried into a pillow, and left them a beautiful rental unit. You'd be wrong. What I did next wasn't just moving out, it was a surgical deconstruction of their expectations. I'm about to show you exactly what happens when you try to con a contractor's daughter out of her hard work. They wanted the space? They're going to get the space, exactly how it looked before I poured my life savings into it. I spent the next 48 hours planning a demolition that would make a wrecking ball look polite. And the best part? I kept the receipts, and I kept the original junk they thought I threw away. I didn't start packing immediately. I started hunting. See, my parents are hoarders of a specific variety, they never throw away useful hardware. When I replaced the fixtures 3 years ago, they made me store the old ones in the attic. Just in case, Dad had said. I climbed into the attic at 2 a.m. on Saturday. I dug through the insulation until I found the box of shame. It was all there. The original boob light fixture with the glass cover that looked like a nipple. The yellowed, plastic thermostat from 1990. The shower head that was completely calcified with white crust and sprayed water in 3 painful directions. The rusty curtain rods. The light switch plates that were painted over 5 times. I dragged the box down to the basement. It was heavy, rattling with the ghosts of the room's ugly past. Sunday morning, 8 a.m. My parents left for a day trip to visit friends. They wouldn't be back until Monday evening. Don't forget to clean. Mom chirped as she walked out the door. Make it shine. Oh, I will, I muttered as the lock clicked. I put on my tool belt. I turned on my rage playlist. And I went to work. First, the technology. I disconnected the Google Home Hub. I unscrewed the Nest thermostat. I reconnected the old wires to the beige, analog Honeywell unit. It hung crookedly on the wall, leaving a square of unpainted drywall visible where the new one had been. Next, the lighting. I took down the chandelier. I uninstalled the 6 Philips Hue recessed lights I had retrofitted into the ceiling cans. I replaced them with the cheapest, harshest cool white CFL bulbs I could find in the garage. The room instantly went from warm and inviting to interrogation cell. I took the Lutron dimmer switches out of the wall. I wired the old toggle switches back in. One of them didn't even click, it just sort of squished into the on position. Then, the bathroom. This was the hardest part physically, but the most satisfying emotionally. I shut off the water main. I unscrewed the rainfall shower head. I wrapped the old, crusty head in Teflon tape and cranked it on. It looked like a fungal growth sprouting from the wall. I removed the Toto bidet seat. I put back the thin, plastic seat that slid around whenever you sat on it. I took the backlit mirror down. I hung the old builder-grade slab of glass that was desilvering on the edges. I moved to the kitchenette. The quartz countertop wasn't glued down, it was floating on brackets I had installed. I lifted it off. Underneath was the original laminate, chipped, stained with a ring of coffee from a decade ago. I loaded the quartz slab into my truck. I took the blackout velvet curtains. I put up the flimsy, paper-thin blinds that had 2 slats missing. Finally, the TV. I unmounted the 65-inch OLED. I patched the holes with toothpaste, just like a college student. I didn't sand it. I didn't paint it. I just left the white splotches on the gray wall. By 4 p.m. on Monday, the room was unrecognizable. It echoed. It was cold. The lighting was sickly. It was exactly what they had rented me 3 years ago. It was a dungeon. I packed the last box into my U-Haul. I did a final sweep, not to clean, but to make sure I hadn't accidentally left anything of value. I even took the batteries out of the smoke detector I had bought. I left the key on the kitchen counter upstairs. Next to it, I left the original manual for the 1990 thermostat. I was sitting in my new apartment, a studio downtown that was half the size but 100% mine, when my phone buzzed at 7:45 p.m. It was Mom. "Mom, Chloe? We're home." I didn't reply. "Mom, Chloe. What did you do?" I took a sip of wine. "Dad, pick up the phone. Now. Where is the thermostat? Where are the lights?" I let it ring. Then came the voicemail. I played it on speaker. "You ungrateful little brat." Mom was screaming. I could hear the echo of the empty basement in the background. "You stripped the house. You stole the fixtures. The shower head is gone. The mirror is gone. We have a photographer coming at 9 a.m. This place looks like a crack den. You bring it back right now or I'm calling the police." I typed out a single text message. I didn't steal anything. The lease, the verbal agreement, was for the space. The upgrades were my personal property. I restored the unit to its original condition, as is standard for move-out. The original fixtures are all installed. Enjoy your Airbnb. Mom, the quartz countertop? Mine. It's in my new kitchen. Dad, we can't rent this. It looks terrible. You lowered the value of our house. No, Dad. I took my value with me. You wanted the space back? You got it. I blocked their numbers for the night. The next morning, I got a frantic email from my Aunt Linda, the one who was supposed to stay there. Apparently, Mom called her crying, saying the guest suite was undergoing emergency repairs and she couldn't stay there anymore. I heard through my cousin that the photographer showed up, took one look at the fluorescent lighting and the stained laminate, and asked if they wanted to reschedule for after the renovation. They tried to threaten small claims court, but I sent them the receipts for every single item I took, totaling about $8,000. I also sent them a photo of the box of shame in the attic with a timestamp from 3 years ago, proving the old fixtures were theirs. They haven't listed it on Airbnb. Last I heard, Dad was down there trying to figure out how to wire a dimmer switch, and he shocked himself. So, I have to ask, am I the monster for stripping the room bare, or did they get exactly what they deserved for trying to profit off my hard work?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.